It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy Ihnatko, Rene Ritchie, and Alex Lindsay are here with a jam-packed show. It's Rumor Central this week. We're going to find out what the analysts, what the rumor mongers, what the guessers and the skeptics are going to, I don't know, we're going to say Apple's going to be doing. Apparently, we might be seeing an event this month. Also, why are people walking into walls at Apple Park? It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 600, recorded Tuesday, March 6th, 2018, a notch above. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Roman, a men's health company that offers remote online diagnosis for ED and convenient monthly delivery of medication. For $50 off your first month, get roman.com/MacBreak. And by Lighthouse. With 3D and AI, Lighthouse is the only camera that gets your busy life at home. Get 15% off a Lighthouse camera with the promo code TWIT at light.house. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we talk about the latest news from Apple without the news for which the news would be the news. Mr. Rene Ritchie of the news.
We make the news, Leo. We don't need news. We invent it right here.
When news breaks, Rene fixes it.
We break it, yes.
We never heard that one before. I got to tell you more American jokes. imore.com. Thank you for being in the house, as they say. Rene is joined, as always, by Andy Ihnatko from the Chicago Sun-Times, CWOB.com.
We could not possibly be more the news unless Huey Lewis were fronting us. That's how news we are.
I want a new news. And look, and lo and behold, from the nation's capital comes Alex Lindsay. Gosh, you're looking good. You know, Andy was joking. He said Alex looks better when he's not in studio, and it's true.
Well, see, in studio, you have a whole studio. Here, I just have a whole bunch of lights that are all dedicated to me. So, which is, you know, it makes it better.
So they, you know, when you get a bunch of crows together, you call it a murder of crows, right? A pod of whales. When you get a bunch of white men together, you know what you call it? A podcast.
A podcast.
Yes. And here we are to talk about Apple. Look, I just got the new Apple Hub. Apple Hub 2 is out, and it's a beauty. It's gorgeous, actually. Now in stereo. So what will they think of next?
Those guys.
Aren't those beautiful? This is Patrick Delahanty brought his. I think this is Apple's first attempt at speakers, the computer speakers. Ported bass, I could see right in there. There is a ported bass and powered speakers. And yes, as with all old Apple gear, they've yellowed with age. But there's sound.
You have jack. You have hardware.
What is it you're supposed to rub on that to get the yellow off?
A peroxide solution that you can get at like a hairstyling salon, and then you wrap it in plastic, and then you set it out in the sun,
to
the direct sun,
like a bone.
Exactly.
Let us convene. At this point, we're in there's a news cycle. Apple has a news cycle, an ebb and a flow, so to speak. And we are at the point in the news cycle where it is Rumorville, Rumor Central, nothing but rumors. Rumors and patents. That's all we've got.
And it would be irresponsible not to talk about them.
Well, I don't want to.
Yeah, but I love this time, Leo, because it can be anything we imagine it to be. Apple could release anything that we want to talk about in March. When they actually announce it, we're constrained by reality, and that's terrible. But now it could announce a coffee maker for all we know.
That's why the stock rises on the expectations and drops on the announcement is because we can expect everything. And then it's going to be huge. But
before we get to the Apple news, I do want to eulogize a great man, a man who meant a lot to my generation and who died exactly as I want to die, at the age of 92 with a whiskey in front of the Oscars, dissing somebody's gown. We're talking about Russ Solomon, the founder of...
That is really like one of the best ways to go.
Isn't that a great way to go? He asked his wife, hey, honey, get me some more whiskey. When she came back, he was gone. That's just the way to go. And you know what? He was a legend. He created Tower Records. And I know you worked at a record store, Alex, so you know how important Tower Records was to America.
I went to Tower Records every Saturday. I used to go to school outside of Philadelphia in high school, and there was a Tower Records on South Street, and I used to like do something, work somewhere, so that I'd make enough money to buy 1 or 2 CDs a week. And so that was the big thing. It was like, what CD am I going to get? One week it would be Peter Gabriel's "So," the next week it would be a Police album that I already had, and it would, those types of things. And so I remember going. Tower Records was the reason I went to Philadelphia every week. So it was definitely a key part of, I think, a lot of our backgrounds. If there was a Tower record around you, it was basically like the Walmart or Amazon of music at the time. Before we could have everything mailed. I mean, I guess the Amazon would be whatever is the Columbia Clearinghouse, which by the way was great when you're in a dorm because they couldn't catch you. So you just order 10 and then
just move. The Tower Records really was the first record store for my baby boomers generation. It wasn't Square. Didn't have listening booths. Actually, they did. The early Tower Records did. I remember in San Francisco, the legendary Tower Records store started in Sacramento, but that one on the corner in San Francisco where they had just record after record after record. It was just an amazing thing. So Russ Solomon, he went out with exactly the way I want to go out. That's just it, right there, watching the Oscars with a glass of whiskey. Moving right along to some Apple rumors. That was the news.
March Madness.
And now the rumors. This is Ming-Chi Kuo, KGI Securities. He says, this is the one that really blows my mind. Apple's planning a more affordable 13-inch MacBook Air. MacBook Air for this year with a lower price tag. Now, I think you can get, what is the lowest the Air can go for? $1,000, right? So that'd be a sub $1,000.
It has been $899 for the 11-inch, but the
11-inch version.
Yeah.
I like this idea because the Air is beloved by many, even though it doesn't have a Retina display, but it has a better keyboard, in my opinion, than any of the current Mac laptops. And if you can get it down to, I don't know, $899, $799, this was I think a good product for schools, right? For education. Apple doesn't really have a good choice for education.
What blew my mind is I was recording with Ben Beharin on Thursday, and I put it in the lead of the show, and he says if Apple could take the existing MacBook Air, add a Retina display, modernize the specs, and sell it for $999 or $899, they would just annihilate the PC industry. They would take share like nobody's business. And then I edited the episode, took my time, put it up on Saturday, and 3 hours later, Ming-Chi Kuo published it.
Maybe he was listening to the show. That's where he got the idea. I don't know.
No, I think this is what we're hearing in the industry trends.
I doubt it.
Yeah, and it's a lot of.
Wait a minute. Let's get the optimistic, and then we'll get the pessimist. So start, Alex.
It's a lot of what Apple's done in the past. It's a lot of what Apple's done in the past, which is to slowly, spread out it, and that is one of the last vestiges of low cost that Apple hasn't been able to get to. It hasn't been able to make the laptops much cheaper than they are. If they can get down into the $799, $899, I don't know if they can or not, but if they can, it would do a lot of damage in the industry.
I think it's telling that Apple has not yet killed the Air. We thought for sure the MacBook had supplanted it. The fact
Gurman
that they
had the same rumor yesterday.
Oh, that's interesting. If Gurman says so, it must be true. Okay, Andy, you don't think so. Now what would you say?
No. I think that the Air is super long in the tooth. I think that it's like 2 years overdue for an overhaul. But it's a really, really important computer. It is the buy-in. It is the lowest level buy-in for a MacBook. And so it's as a concierge into hopefully will be the next 10 or 15 years of spending $1,000 to $2,000 on Mac laptops. It really has to put its best foot forward. So the fact that you have the best, hands down, the best keyboard in the entire portable and desktop Mac line, that's nice. But we're finally at the point in which when you see a non-Retina display, it's like, what is the CDR drive doing in this laptop? It just seems so chaotic. And it's going to need upgrade supports. It's going to need to be better. When I was saying that I'm not, my skepticism wasn't that they're going to be updating the MacBook Air. It's that I don't know how much hurt they will put on the Windows market by really what they would be doing by dropping the price of creating a Retina MacBook Air at, let's say, $899 is finally getting within $100 to $150 of what Windows users have been able to buy in a pretty similar form factor for at least the last year and a half. PC Ultrabooks have been kind of iffy, but Intel and Microsoft really got their act together with their latest generation of chips. And as of about a year and a half ago, you're getting the battery life, you're getting the build quality, you're getting a touchscreen. So I think that Mac people will continue to be Mac people, Windows people will continue to be Windows people, and the people who have no allegiance will say, I would much rather have another $250 in my pocket than necessarily have a MacBook Air.
There's a couple of things that I thought were super interesting too. One is that it looks like Apple made a series of bad bets. When you go back and look at the Mac Pro, they built themselves into that thermal corner. And now when you look at the MacBook, which was supposed to lower in price the way the original MacBook Air did and replace the MacBook Air the way that the MacBook Air replaced the MacBook, and just the Core M series never really took off, and the components that Apple used remained relatively high in price. And just like they're reconsidering the Mac Pro, it looks like they're reconsidering the MacBook Air. And I think the comment about hurting the PC industry is not in terms of market share, because that'll never change, but the PC, the Ultrabook ASPs were slowly building after a year of them all living, like years of them living on sustenance, trying to struggle to survive. They were finally making a little bit of money on it because there was no other really compelling offer. And Apple tends to take a lot of the premium market share when they do have products in those categories. So if Apple re-entered that market with a premium product that was priced in that range, I think the profits would reshift.
I love Tim's idea of putting a Retina screen in it.
Yeah, they kind of have to.
Do they?
I don't. See, I really, particularly in the past year and a half, the Mac UI is really tuned towards Retina. It works. Okay. It works. It's the San Francisco font is wonderful in how flexible it is on whether you're putting it onto a 720p display or whether you're putting it onto a tiny watch or whether you're putting it onto a big screen. But at some point, it even becomes a problem where are you going to source these relatively low resolution panels? You can't really get competitive pricing if you're the one person that if you're the one outlet that is still shipping machines with this kind of low resolution display. But
remember the merits of this display, which is better battery life, right? And I would think they'd be cheaper, although it may be that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, as they become rarer, they become more expensive.
Yeah. It's 1440 by 900. I mean, it's not a terrible display.
No, it's HD, but it's not impressive.
And I should point out there are a lot of PCs sold with similar resolutions. This is not, but,
Yeah, but for a hell of a lot less money.
Less than 1,000.
It just comes with an OS. It comes with the OS that people want.
Right.
We talk a lot about the hardware, but it still comes down to the fact that there's an OS that people want to use, that have that would use if they could afford it.
Yeah, I mean, my point of view is that the Mac community deserves a really good $899 laptop, and I really hope that they're going to get one in the next week or two.
Of course, it'll be $1,300 in Canada, but I'm getting used to that.
Now, next week or two is interesting, Andy. You're hearing those rumors too, I guess, that there will be something this month.
Yeah, I'm really bullish on this now, particularly because it's hard to find iPads now, and a lot of companies are putting out really, really good deals to clear out existing inventory. So I'd be really surprised if there weren't something really close by that's certainly going to influence iPad purchasing.
Would it be an event?
No, I don't think so.
They just announce it.
I think they do.
Would there be a new iPad Pro? Would they update the iPad Pro to look like the iPhone 10? Because I think that'd be event worthy.
I don't know if they're ready for that yet.
Maybe not.
It's super interesting because the iPad has been like they did that once, that quick do-over for the iPad 3 when it had that bad GPU in it, and they rushed to get the iPad 4 out.
That was less than 6 months, yeah.
But it's traditionally been a year to 18 months for the last few times, and now we're only 9 months out.
Oh.
But there are things that the iPad Pro is lacking, like the A11 processor, which is really a significant upgrade over the A10, and things like the new design. It wouldn't be exactly like iPhone 10 because an iPad is a different beast. You don't necessarily need maximum screen because you want to be able to hold it comfortably, and you could do a lot of fancy palm rejection, but you still want to be able to lift it up off the table, hold it, not cover up half the screen with your hands all the time.
Would you get rid of the button, the home button?
I would get rid of the button. I would give it Face ID, like at least the true depth camera system. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do with it. It's just a question of will they do it? Because if they wait too long, people are like, oh, Apple's not updating the iPad. If they do it 9 months later, like, oh my God, I just bought one. You're horrible.
True.
You destroyed the iPad that I just bought.
True.
Yeah. But
my kids are my kids are upset because I can send them emojis and they can't send them back. So this has become there's a lot of drama
Well, I would imagine it's a mission at some point for Apple to get all its iOS devices on the iPhone 10 platform, right? That's the future, isn't it? I don't mean the notch. I mean, you know, the UI, the home button-less UI, Face ID, edged. Yeah, and you're right. You're not going to get an edge-to-edge screen on an iPad, but you could get a bigger screen. You could get more edge.
There's foldable LCD that you can do now. Like you can the big thing with the OLEDs is that you could curve them around and put the controllers underneath, so you could really go edge to edge.
Apple's not going to do that for years. Apple's not going to. Samsung will do that next year. Apple's not going to do that for years.
No. I mean by foldables, like the iPhone 10 has a foldable OLED, so it curves underneath and connects in, and that's how it goes edge to edge.
Yeah, but you don't want that, as you point out quite rightly. You don't want that on a tablet. You need ears to hold it.
Maybe the sides. You know, you just want a little bit of comfort in that device. But I mean, there's Apple Watch bands. We usually get those in March. If there's a new iPhone SE, who knows if there is or not? But the iPhone SE was introduced in the spring, and
that's long in the tooth, isn't it?
And I want a red iPhone 10, Leo. I mean, I want Andy's purple iPhone 10.
That was the only thing they announced last year at this time was a red iPhone.
The red iPhone 10, yeah. Red iPhone 7, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's enough. I mean, they've got a bunch of Android phones coming out, and people care as much about a new color as they do about a new design.
I know.
We're a market. You scratch our surface, you find more surface.
I rushed to buy the Samsung Galaxy S9 in lilac. I just had to have
plus,
it. I got the plus. I got the plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice.
Yeah, it's purple.
Your friends don't have purple. It shows that you have the new one.
It's our MacBreak Weekly color. It matches. Actually, we'll have to tune the set to match my... No, we won't. So I'm excited. I'd love to see new Macs. Will we see a Mac Mini? That's really long in the tooth. Why don't they kill these old products? Why do they let them drag on? They're selling a 3-year-old computer as brand new.
They don't kill products unless they actually want to kill the product. Otherwise, they just keep the last version of it live until they put a replacement out, or they decide to kill it.
Give it some love, Apple. Come on.
Seriously.
We'd love to see, I mean, I'd definitely love to see an update. I think that for what we use the Mac Minis for, we have probably, I don't know, somewhere between 12 and 15 of them. And they're rack mountable. We can stick them anywhere. We have 2 of them in per 1U unit, and we use them for all kinds of glue. You know, like you can get things that, we use Spectre and Scopebox and all kinds of other things that we review processes. They're fast enough for what they're doing. And so as a result, I think that we still buy more of them because there's nothing else that really does that except that runs the apps that we want to run. So I think that they fill that space. I don't think Apple has to update them. People will still use them. But if they did, we'd probably update a bunch of them because, we'd have USB-C and, faster processors, that kind of thing. But it's not necessary. I think that's why they can probably hang on to them for a while.
Yeah, I don't think Apple particularly cares about the Mac Mini, but the fact that they've got the engineering done, they've got the tooling done, they've got the machinery done, it's a really inexpensive thing now for them to continue to make. It would be super expensive for them to make something to replace it, and I don't think they care. I haven't seen external signs that they care enough about that part of the market to say, you know what, we're going to give you something the size of an Apple TV or an Intel NUC. We're going to give you a really wonderful compact Mac experience at a really good price. I don't think they really care about that, which is a shame because I do think that the Mac Mini is one of the most important computers in the entire lineup.
To paraphrase the way that it was explained to me, it's like they care. It's like Phil Schiller really, really cares about the Mac, but it's the vegetable garden in the corner of the back, and he's fixing the roof, and he needs to redo the asphalt, and the hedge is overgrown, and he's going to get a ticket. And it's just it's one of those things that, in a perfect world, you have nothing else to do. You'd love to sit there and do your vegetable garden, but you have 19 things on fire in the house, and you're just busy putting them out. And it's no excuse. They should absolutely update it. It's a structural, cultural issue that they've faced since they were a tiny company only doing one thing, and now they're still a company built like a tiny company doing a ton of things.
Well, maybe they need an iOS division and a Mac division. I mean, how hard could this be?
Well, I think that
part of what makes them Apple.
I think that it's not by accident that Apple has got a huge educational press for Swift, for coding. There is, you talk to any tech company and finding engineers that actually are really good at what they do and understand the architecture and write clean code is something that is, most of these companies have hired most of them. so if they can get them into the country, and if they're not, they're outsourcing it to the folks that can, and that's part of the reason that they open offices in other countries is because it's hard to get them back into the United States, and there's some great coders in Eastern Europe and in Asia, and so I think that there's a lot of resource constraint. You just really get to a point where Apple's competing, and it's not about money. It literally is about the fact that if you're really good if you're highly skilled, highly trained computer engineer, you're probably working somewhere. And I think that's the problem, is that you can only do so much. You can only you really can't turn it to 11. They're at about 8 or 9, and there's no other people, which is why everyone's worried about education. Google does it, Facebook does it, Apple does it, where there's all kinds of education programs to try to increase the supply of the labor, because it's not even constrained by how much they're willing to pay. They just can't find them.
So you guys are basically saying it's not for lack of wanting to do it, it's for lack of ability to stretch, to find enough engineers to stretch. You don't want to stretch the team. It's number 8 on the list, and
number 1 and 2 are incredibly important.
Yeah, I stick with as a relative term. They don't care. I think that
I'm more with you, Andy, because they made a lot of effort to make the HomePod.
Yeah.
They have people.
They decided to do a $12,000 gadget watch, even though it required them to create new high security tables and market towards a market that they've never sold anything to before. Again, I don't mean that they don't care about it. I don't mean that I don't believe that if they were driving home after work and they saw a Mac Mini on the side of the road on fire, that they could drive past and feel nothing. I mean that if they thought that the Mac Mini was something important to them, they would be really excited about having they would be a little bit ashamed that this thing has languished for so long, and they would be really, really super excited about making sure that there's going to be a slot at WWDC for yes, here's the $5,000 Mac for developers who have good credit ratings, and here is the really super powerful Mac Mini for people who are probably going to be paying for this with cash, half of that in enrolled nickels.
Yeah, they made it. I mean, to be fair, they did make a very nice iMac Pro. That is a very nice Mac.
It's a very nice Mac that costs
starts at $3,000.
Yeah.
And it's a chicken and egg problem. Like, I bought a new Mac Mini last year because we wanted to do a series on Mac Mini for iMore, and it came with Yosemite. And I don't know if it's because people aren't buying them, so they're not updating them, or they're not updating them, so people aren't buying them, or yes, to both things.
Here's another fabulous story that's going to kill me. New patent hints that Apple may be getting rid of physical keyboards entirely. No! They're not going to do that.
Your grandkids won't have keyboards, Leo.
I hope so. Yeah, I know. This is why we don't really pay attention to patents. But, maybe this has something to do with iPads or something. I don't know.
In an imaginary world where Apple had a courier-like device that would open up and have 2 screens, you might occasionally want to use one of those screens as a keyboard, and they should make that keyboard experience as good as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a really intriguing idea. That I would love for Apple to run with that idea. It's such a natural fit for a content device and also a productivity device. They've already kind of done a really good job of creating a flat keyboard for the iPad that has minimal touch, but is still quite usable. And if you said that we're going to give you a second Retina screen, so that you can literally have 2 apps and 2 windows side by side as you're working and drag things between them, all the different ways that you can create new paradigms for research and for creation with 2 kinds of screens. That's such a great idea. I would love to see Apple go with that.
What I'm really interested in is less in the keyboard, which I think that they probably add. But what I'm fascinated by is the possibility of them having all kinds of really interesting interfaces that could be put on that second screen. So I can if I want to be a DJ and I want to,
that makes more sense. Or Final Cut. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's a big touch bar. In other words, it's a big touch bar.
Right. Well, it's a big whatever you want. So that basically the app designer designs your interface on how you're going to speak to the other screen, and that might be drawing, that might be wheels, that might be think of Final Cut not being constrained to a keyboard, or any app. And I think it would open up an entirely new area of interface design to have just a screen that is just another window for the interface. Even Photoshop or anything else could be a really interesting way to do that. I would still hope that they would at least give us a Bluetooth connection so that we could still use a regular keyboard if we wanted to. But
I'm sure.
I wouldn't want to type things. But I realized I was discussing this with someone on a plane yesterday. is that I type on a glass screen more than a regular regular keyboard now. It's mostly my phone. I mean, I type really long emails with my thumbs at this point, and but I realize that so it's not like I never type on it. Although I complain a lot, I still don't like the flat keyboard, so I don't think I'll like the glass one either. But and it's not like I type essays on my iPad, but also that's the whole like how it's set up and where the screen is and all those things I think make a difference. But I'd be really interested in creative interface design.
So Rene, when you talked to Ben Beharon, it sounds like he thought there would be an event this month.
I wouldn't discount the possibility of an event. It's hard to tell because Apple has Steve Jobs Theater now, so there's much less logistics involved in them having an event that's of appreciable size.
Tim Cook could basically come downstairs and say, "Let's have an event tomorrow."
No, I mean totally. I mean they could do like fly every they've done before where they just have you on the phone, or they tell you to come to like New York or Cupertino and talk to you, or they have an event, and they have the ability to do all these things at scale now. And one of the things they've been doing, again, is like they're not going to wait a year just because they have to wait a year for iPads. They'll push them out when they're ready. They'll push out the MacBooks when they're ready. All of these things, it's just a question of timing for them. So does Intel's roadmap line up? Can they get things done? Do they want to go to the effort of doing it? All of that is super interesting, and they have the flexibility now to do all of it.
You think they might even say Mac Pro?
I mean, I think they're a little bit shy now after.
We haven't heard any rumors of
HomePod.
Mac. Yeah, we haven't even heard any rumors.
Pre-announcing I think they've burned a lot of pre-announcing.
Yeah. When you announce the Mac Pro, you announce it by saying it's for sale tomorrow.
And also, WWDC feels like such a fit for the Mac Pro. I mean, that's where they did the 2013 Mac Pro.
So that's in June, right? So that's 3 months off.
I'm also sure
they really did it in 2013, so it's going to be 2018, 5 years later.
Yeah,
it's going to be something new.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They're going to have a story to tell when they release the Mac Pro.
Yeah.
What will that story be?
And it's triangular.
We made it. The dog ate my Mac Pro. What?
They're going to remember that this was such an inflection point for Apple design that they put on this borderline embarrassing dog and pony show with Gruber and 4 others. Say we're going to look. You're in the secret part of Apple that no one's ever seen before, and things are covered with sheets. And yes, I know that we could have just called you and told you the same nothing that we're telling you right now. But trust us, we're really doing something great with the Mac Pro. With the Mac Pro. So this is I think they're gonna use this as an example of here is what we understand about the use of a Mac Pro, and here's why we built this the way we did, and here is why it is shaped like a banana, and there are no ports because you're just supposed to imagine things with it.
Yeah.
I'll have John Turnus out there looking all Dr. McDreamy, and then everyone will just flutter and buy their new Mac Pro.
Well, this would be in the next few weeks if they do something this month. It's March 6th. That'd be soon.
They've been going later in the year. Originally, they did the first week of March, and the next event was middle March, and the last event was March 21st. And again, it could be nothing, but I think that we'll at least see. They've been doing Apple Watch bands every spring.
So at the very least, do not buy a new Apple Watch band right now.
Well, no, buy them now because you won't be able to. If you really like them,
they take them out.
Be able to get them
right.
again.
Somebody was in here with the Rainbow Band. Beautiful band.
You can't find them. They're hoping for a reissue this year.
Yeah. So, okay, for people like Rene who want to collect the whole set.
No, but if you see an Apple Watch band you like, they don't do unlimited stock of them. They don't keep them around forever. They're very seasonal. So if you like it, just buy it.
I'm really liking the Velcro one. What do you wear?
Yeah, it's like I'm wearing the cuff again, but the Velcro one is like the sweatpants of the Apple Watch.
Comfy.
It's the most comfortable.
Yeah. I got 3 different ones, 3 different colors.
That's so great.
Yeah, I really like it.
It's kind of mean. Like every time that I visit my local Apple store for one reason or another, it's like I know better than to ask the person who's helping me. Like, wow, do you have any more of that watch band that you're wearing? So, oh no, the special peach with the gold clasp was only available for 2 months last year, so we don't have it anymore. Like, just new rule. You can wear whatever you want when you're not on duty, but when you're on the floor, only wear stuff that I could buy because they're cool and I will want one.
It's like watching Steve Trottensmith hunt down all the hunt down all the remnant bands on Twitter and complete his collection.
eBay bands.
I think that I have this very transient view of my thing because I'm like, I'm going to buy another one the next time they release one. So I'm always like, I got the cheapest one that I can get, and I got, I don't even change the watch.
Well, it does rankle because I'm looking at this piece of Velcro that I spent $60, $50 for. Yeah. I mean, that's all profit, baby. That couldn't have cost them anything.
Yeah.
But so it rankles a little bit to buy Apple brand watch bands. But frankly, they're better than the third-party bands. I don't know.
And if they didn't make them, there'd be nothing for the third parties to copy.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's a little like having a new watch.
It is. Yeah. I now wear my Apple Watch every day, thanks mostly to drafts. Thank you, Agile Tortoise. What's his name? Dan Gilbert? Is that his name?
Greg Pierce.
I don't know who Dan Gilbert is. Greg Pierce. Thank you. But also the activity monitor. Although it's not the best activity monitor on the market, there's some really good alternative choices that do a better job, frankly. But just all the package is nice. And then for that, you have to have the phone. And then, well, if you have the phone, then you have the Mac, and then it goes on and on and on. They're smart.
Well, yeah. I think it's I don't think that Apple has hit a home run with any part of the watch other than a lot of singles. And enough singles.
That's enough, right?
It's hard.
That's a good way to put it.
It's not any one thing. Right. It's just, it's just like the notifications work. I turned most of them off because they drive me crazy. But I have a certain number of them that pop up, and the tracking is good enough. And it's like there's other things that do each one of those better, but no one other thing that does each one better. So to the point where you just kind of go for it.
I've been hearing confusing rumors about the AirPods. I heard a rumor that Apple's going to do high-end headphones, but then they're over-the-ear headphones, which they already do with Beats. And then I heard a rumor that they're going to do something new with the AirPods, or maybe they're going to make AirPod-like functionality in over-the-ear headphones. Rene, what the hell is tell me what the real rumor is.
So Apple has this whole team of really, really good audio engineers and this huge, huge audio lab now that we saw when they were talking about the HomePod. And that's where the AirPods were developed, where the speakers for the iPad Pro were developed, where the new iPhone speakers were developed. And that team just loves to work on this stuff. So they have AirPods, and they're working on next generation AirPods that would have things like water resistance, so it won't matter if you sweat or you're out in the rain. And they'll have Dingus built into it, so you won't tap them in order to summon. You could just use the command word if you want. But they're also working on another product that takes the sort of quick pairing ability, the W1 or the next generation W1 chip, which I don't know what they're going to call it because W2 is already in the Apple Watch, but W1S or something. Put that in there and then take the acoustic engineering from the HomePod. So it would have really like a more high-end, more acoustic, more studio quality listening experience. But it would have like the super Bluetooth pairing capabilities.
There's an opportunity there, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think Beats is a very differently positioned brand. Like Apple can afford to have Apple's own set of like these are our earbuds, our AirPods, and our whatever studio pods or whatever they end up calling them. Yeah. And for them, it's again they've reached the point where it's hard to sell more iPhones because there's a limited amount of people on Earth. So all you can do is start selling more stuff with the iPhone. And when you look at HomePod and AirPods and things like the Studio Pods, whatever they call them, that is a way to sell more things to people who already have iPhones or iPads.
There are rumors, this is Ming-Chi Kuo again, that the HomePods are selling very disappointingly. Wouldn't be a surprise.
Last month they were overselling, and this month they're selling.
Yeah, well, they sold really well on day one, but that does not a successful product make.
I think they're a seasonal, like the holidays, they do gangbusters, and then people don't really think about them again until a new phone comes out or the new holiday season comes out.
But the HomePod really is such a limited market.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said AirPods. I apologize.
No, I love these. These are everybody should have. If you got an iPhone,
yeah,
you need AirPods.
I was just about to say. I mean, Apple missed a huge opportunity by shipping them after December. I think that's going to be more interesting to see what happens when
HomePod we're talking about now. Yeah,
exactly. But it's going to be more interesting to see what happens when we're in that season where people are willing to spend $300 or $400 to apologize to a loved one for how badly you might have treated him or her over the past year, because that's a good idea. It's a really nice product for that kind of a thing. And as usual, again, people are saying that it's underperforming sales wise. Well, again, according to whose standard?
Yeah.
So wait a year, see if people are still talking about it. See if Apple is still showing actual interest in the product, and then we'll talk.
I wouldn't credit it because you hear the iPhone 10 wasn't selling well. I wouldn't credit it except for it makes sense to me because this is a product that does one thing really. It works with Apple Music. It has artificially narrowed its. It's a very limited market, so I wouldn't expect it to sell well until they update AirPlay 2.
And if they add more countries, they'll sell in those countries again.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that it was a brave thing for Apple to do because the right thing to do is the right thing to do was to wait until they released the speaker. The thing that would have sold a lot more is to sell it when they said they were going to sell it.
Right.
So
that's right.
And it wouldn't,
of course.
And so they gave up millions of sales by selling it, by doing the delay that they said.
And
a
lot of people bought, let's say, the Google Home Max or the Sonos One instead because that was on the market.
Yeah, people were very pregnant to buy something before Christmas, and they were ready. I mean, everybody's getting speakers, everybody's got something going on, and so Apple had to get something out because they were going to lose that market. I mean, you know, it's once you get one in there, I mean, your kids learn to use, or your parents learn to use whatever is sitting in the house. You know. And so, like, my parents have an Echo because the speaker wasn't available. And so which they love. So they're not, they don't need anything new. They're quite happy with that.
I want to correct myself and thank you, Rene Ritchie. The Safari team apparently got a hold of Rene and said, "Tell Leo, PWA is coming to Apple." We're talking about progressive web apps, which I'm very bullish on. A lot of people say, "Oh, we've seen this before. It's Electron or it's the original iPhone's quote web apps." But there's a technology that's kind of exciting that Microsoft and Google are very much behind for creating a website that then downloads, caches on your phone, uses Service Worker on your phone to become an offline on-phone app. And to me, the only thing holding this back was lack of support from Apple, and I was wrong. So, Rene, thanks for passing that along. The current beta, is it the beta? What is it of Safari?
It's the purple Safari.
The purple one.
Safari, the purple Safari.
See, I stopped using the purple one, so I didn't know this. And apparently, a beta of iOS also is going to support this. Is going to provide, it sounds like fairly good support for Service Worker. And maybe even some additional features. There are 3 features that you have to be a PWA. You have to have a web app manifest, which says, here's what you need to put on the hard drive. Here's what you need to download and store. You need a cache API, so you have that storage. And then you need the Service Worker, which is running in the background on the target device, on the host device, to provide kind of application-like services so that this, what was once a web page, really is running as an application on your phone. I think the idea would be it's cross-platform. It's a website that you go to, mobile.twit.tv, on any device, Windows, Google Chrome OS, Android, iOS, downloads the requisite features, puts an icon on the desktop, has a startup screen, caches stuff, works offline. That would be really great. It'd be great for a lot of things, particularly for us, because a mobile Twit site that became the Twit app on your phone would be fantastic.
It was written in WebAssembler, runs WebGL and WebAR.
Exactly. And I guess Safari's, sounds like Apple's getting behind it. Is that the case?
I think again, they were reticent with Service Workers in particular because they have an app platform and they still don't think that the web provides as good a native experience as the app platform. So they spent, I guess, a year looking into it and decided that it was something they had to support anyway.
Good. Yeah. Good. We shall see. Anyway, I want to correct myself and say it is apparently at least first steps anyway coming from Apple. And there's actually, this is a good article I'm going to point people to on Medium that talks about everything that is coming. This is from last month. Pratik Shetty, progressive web apps are coming to a Safari near you, and it discusses what's needed and what Apple's doing. And
they really have no choice. It's just like that first demo of the iPad, the New York Times, where there's a lot of jigsaw puzzle, broken pieces where stuff should be but aren't. If your bank decides that we don't want to have to create and maintain mobile apps for 2 platforms anymore, we're just going to do a PWA for all of our mobile banking or any others, like a grocery store, lots of others services. The first time that you get a substandard experience on an iPhone because Apple decided that PWAs they don't want to encourage people to divert from running a native app, that's when things start to go bad. So they really have no choice.
Yeah, this is huge, and it really would be a boon to a lot of people who want to make apps, but it would also be a boon to users of a lot of platforms. By the way, it'll work on Microsoft Windows even.
Edge.
Edge, yeah.
I think that always the challenge is always lowest common denominator. You know, I mean, you're not going to get, doing these, you'll not have the kind of experience that any one platform is capable of.
Well, that remains to be seen. I know, of course, that's usually true, but I think that this is kind of a new kind of web app that I think is going to surprise people. And Apple must believe that, or they wouldn't be putting the effort into support.
I mean, on the other hand, like Apple, Vicky Murley and the team at Apple put together a lot of effort into making the CSS stuff all work. Like a lot of the core animation stuff, they poured all that over, and that's what a lot of CSS transform and CSS graphics that we use all over the web comes from today.
Yeah.
So I think they just sort of have little niches they fell into, but because all the companies contribute, we get the best of all of them in the end.
Yeah. We'll hear a lot more about PWA at Microsoft's Build conference at Google I/O, and maybe with any luck, we'll hear a little bit more about it at WWDC as well.
And you also have Facebook's F8. I don't know if Facebook will show anything or not, or whether that'll be something that. But
well, Facebook is the famous counterexample, because remember, Facebook made a wrapper around their website and proposed that as an app, and that was a massive failure, and they had to start over. That's not, but I think that's what people think this is, and it's not what that is. Or Electron, which is basically putting Chrome on your system to run a web page. This is a lot better, I think, a lot better than that.
Yeah, I mean, the Fuchsia OS that Google is building.
Yeah, Fuchsia.
It's hard. It's not only will it support it. It's like that seems to be the entire app model. Yeah. That there's not going to be an app store, because basically the OS will call for whatever piece of code it needs at any given point from whatever developer has decided to register it. So it's a lot of people aren't really going to be caring about the difference between a native app, unfortunately, and something that's being loaded from the web anymore. So
it'll give us more apps.
Great. Yeah, exactly.
It's good for users. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking that maybe this is the first time that a Windows phone will actually have really good software for it.
It's so good for Windows Phone, finally. And WebOS, it's back, baby.
There is reticence in the Mac community, because a lot of us grew up on people who made these incredibly carefully curated. Like, remember we went through the Delicious generation when they had like the CD burner that had core graphics or core animation, smoke coming out of it as you burned the CD, and then all the stuff that Will Shipley did with Delicious, the whole Delicious generation.
But, it's my opinion you can do all of that with modern web services like WebGL, WebAssem. I mean, those apps are not something you couldn't do on a web page. Look at some of their web pages out there that look every bit as beautiful as Delicious Library.
Yeah, no, it's not differentiated anymore. It's sort of like that's just the app experience. It doesn't make you feel like, oh, I'm a boutique Mac owner. No, it was part of our inferiority and cult complex.
Right.
Well, I mean, we build a lot of stuff for interaction, and I will say that, I mean, we build, I mean, and right now the primary stuff that
I bet you do it in JavaScript, right?
Web.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Angular or Node of course.
And so Angular is what most of it sits on top of. But at the same time, in the back of our head, it's like, we're just going to do we're going to keep on doing it. You have to have that lowest common denominator available. But in the back of our head is like, if this gets any bigger, we're going to build like native apps. Like we're not going to, because there's so much more we can do, and it's going to be more stable. And I mean, there's still all this weird web stuff that you have to deal with, of dealing with everybody's browsers and, and how they all look at it and everything else. And so, I mean, we definitely do it because we have to, because I don't have the money to it's what everyone's problem is I don't have the money to program something for every platform. So you have a web version of it, but all those feed back into a database, and then eventually we want a native app that's going to, from our perspective, treat the data properly.
Well, a lot of companies also want to make sure that everybody's always running the latest version of their app, particularly when it comes to metrics, particularly when it comes to tracking. If they've got a new scheme that, if people have been running something that is inconvenient to your business model, and you figure a way around it, you want to make sure that everybody's running that thing, as opposed to people who simply have turned on auto update.
And remember, there's a lot of disincentive for Apple to participate. For one thing, you don't get to $10 billion in services without an app store that you get 30% of all the sales in. And
we'll build a web app for you.
Yeah,
we'll be fine.
I don't know if they can make a web store out of this. Maybe they can. That's why it's kind of interesting to see Microsoft do it. It really is.
They're going to be the Microsoft store, right? Like they're going to be equal citizens with Windows apps.
Yeah, they are. And I think that's what's interesting. I think Microsoft. I think everybody's seeing the writing on the wall is the real reason this is happening, and the idea of a standalone. I mean, they're going the way of the shrink wrapped. Or the Ziploc bag with a floppy disk in it. I mean, this
wooden toys.
Yeah, wooden toys. Whatever happened to them? Hey, sometimes as you get a little older, you wish you could put a little pep in your step, a little vigor and vim in your life. Now, I had a system. I just want to show you my system for youthening myself. It's this hat, but I found something. I do look younger.
The Flavor Town.
You do.
They do look younger.
You do look younger. Yeah, Leo, I'm going to give you that. You look young and crazy. You look like an alcoholic golf player.
But there's another way to put a little pep in your step, a little vigor in your life. I want to tell you about a company. Actually, we debated whether to do these ads, but I have to say I am a believer in it. It's called Roman. It's a men's health company. Now, men's health is a difficult matter, shall we say. And ladies, you can tune this out. But guys, as you get older, there are things that happen in your life that perhaps you don't want to talk about with your doctor or even your spouse. And because it affects your manhood. Roman is focused on helping men fix things without having to run to your doctor, without having to be uncomfortable about it. We don't like talking about health, especially if it's all around manhood, if you know what I mean. ED, erectile dysfunction, is something men shouldn't ignore. Sometimes issues with performance are a sign of a larger underlying health problem, and sometimes not. Sometimes it's just the fact of aging. But I got to tell you, this could transform how you feel about yourself, how you feel every day. Roman is breaking down the barriers that keep men from being proactive about their health. They handle everything from online diagnosis to prescription delivery for ED meds. And it's so simple. All it will take is 5 minutes. You can do an online survey in the privacy of your own home, as they used to say, at getroman.com/MacBreak. You give them your medical history. You also give them your preference of medication. There are lots of good choices out there now. U.S. licensed physicians, yes, there's a doctor involved, will review the treatment requests within 2 hours. If appropriate, will write you a prescription. Then the medication is delivered free to your door by Roman Pharmacy Network in discreet packaging. It's marked RHP. No big sign on it that says, your Viagra is here. Refills will happen automatically every month or quarter. Most guys admit that they or their group of male friends rarely go to the doctor for any reason at all, even though we know we should, shouldn't we? Roman is a great start for fixing one of the most important issues in men's health. And that's not a joke. It's serious. Although, if you want to have some fun, they do have a very good video on the website that is quite enjoyable. Roman is at getroman.com/MacBreak. I hear you typing right now. Get $50 off your first month. Yes, $50 off your first month. Visit getroman.com/MacBreak. And thank you for not giggling during this commercial, taking it seriously, because it is serious. getroman.com/MacBreak. That's why we decided, you know what, we're gonna do these ads. We do ads for things we believe in. This is one of them. getroman.com/MacBreak. The chat room, of course, was giggling, but that's another matter entirely. On we go with the show. Let's see here. 911 recordings reveal there is a problem.
I giggle at this.
You can giggle at this.
You thought iPhone 10 screenshots were a problem. You had no idea.
There is a problem. Houston, we have a problem at the new Apple campus. Apparently, the San Francisco Chronicle's done an investigation and has dug up some 911 calls like this one. I walked into a glass door on the first floor of Apple Park when I was trying to go outside. That's a January 4th 911 call. 2 other calls made 2 days earlier, January 2nd, which was the day Apple employees started moving in. We had an individual who ran into a glass wall pane and they hit their head. An Apple caller said on one of the calls they have a small cut in their head and they are bleeding, slightly disoriented. The other caller, we had an employee, he was on campus, he walked into a glass window hitting his head, has a little bit of a cut on the eyebrow, none life-threatening nor requiring hospital visits, but the Chronicle is reporting that a city official in Cupertino, where the headquarters is located, had warned Apple about the risk of absent-minded employees walking into glass walls and doors. They have to be marked.
Looking at their phone.
Well, they have. You know what? If you have these doors, and we've had them at for years, sliding glass doors in California. Every house has them. You put stickers on them, right?
Yeah, they were putting stickers up the last time I was there, which was months ago. It's probably just a huge building, and they didn't have all the stickers in the right place. It's the same. I don't know if it's a sticker or a stencil. It's the same thing you see in the glass Apple stores, where they have sort of that frosted look at around eye level when you walk towards the walls.
Yeah. It's required by California's Code of Regulations. You have to identify and address hazards in the workplace.
I've walked into these walls. It's not funny.
It isn't. It's damaging.
No, I haven't done that at Apple, but I've done that myself at a place at Twilight where they didn't. Yeah, there's a door to the left. There's entrance to the left, entrance to the right. There is just a wall, floor to ceiling pane of glass in the middle with nothing on it. Yeah, one of these bumps here is because of that. So. Yeah.
So nobody went to the hospital. Nobody was seriously injured. Apparently, some birds have been seriously injured, but no humans.
Yeah, we've had folks get bloody noses at clients. You go not at Apple's, but at there's a lot of clients that we have that have a lot of glass in a lot of their offices. And we had one client that had almost all glass everywhere, and one of our guys took hit the glass really hard, and so it's a pretty common problem with glass heavy solutions. This is not anything new to Apple. I mean, it happens probably every time they build a new one, and they go, oh, I didn't think that maybe we should put some markers,
Can I share with?
But eventually, it always ends up with designs.
Can I share with them like a little trick that I came up with at my old place? I did have big sliding glass doors, and every time that I would get like a new iPhone, and remember when they used to have like those adhesive covers on them for display purposes I always used to put when I was as soon as I signed for the package, I was wrestling to get to my office with it. I would peel it off, unpeel it, and put it on the glass. And yeah, I think that's what they should do. They should revive shipping iPhones with stickers.
I have a suggestion. Now, what's your name? What? Say again? Seth? Seth works in Redding, Pennsylvania, Redding, California, in the school district there. He's installed many Apple computers going back to Apple II days, right? Many. He brought me exactly what Apple needs, which is some rainbow Apple stickers.
Yes.
Right. Just put those on the windows, Apple. It would fit in. It would be beautiful. It would have some great memories. Seth, thank you. Look, and guys, if you want me to send you some, I will. These are amazing, including some little teeny ones. Those are aw. Apple, we mentioned last week, is re-trademarked the rainbow, probably because they want to release. They don't want to change the logo.
Stay one step ahead of me and Andy. We were about to go back to that business.
Yeah, really. Look at these little ones. Where did the little ones come from? Do you remember? He has a drawer full of them, apparently.
I think they always came with the big ones and little ones.
Really?
I noticed that you have the original font too.
Yes. This one must be an Apple II. Look at it. Can you get a close up of that? Because that's the original. This is the original font. So this is the one that has two big ones. I guess we don't have the overhead shot. This is the one with two big ones and two little ones. And it's the old. What font is that? What do you call that font? It's a kind of futuristic font. It's what they thought the future would look like in 1978.
It's pre-Garamond.
Yeah, isn't that cool? That's the one. Put that on the windows at Apple Park, or just these little ones. I can't wait to use these. This is Apple Vintage Day. This is 6 colors, Jason Snell. This is 6 colors. Oh, that's who I should give these to. Anyway, if you guys want some, I'll put them in the mail to you. I have quite a few. And thank you, Seth. I appreciate it. Let's see. What else? Wearables are growing big, but of course, that's only because it's the Apple Watch. Wearables grew 7.7% in the fourth quarter of last year, according to IDC, but almost all the demand was for Apple Watches. 21% market share. Fitbit, there's some good stuff, Fitbit. Somebody called me because I was talking about the fact that Apple kind of owned the fitness sector and said, the Garmin HR is an amazing runner's watch with GPS. It's less expensive than the Apple Watch.
Yeah. But here's the difference. I think that there are a lot of people that would like to have a fitness watch. There are fewer people who would like to have an advanced fitness watch, but everybody wants a cool wristwatch.
Yes.
And that's what Apple has tapped into. It's still a top drawer fitness watch, but even if you have the physique of one that
like us, like you and me, Andy.
I didn't want to say it. You've been looking a little bit, I don't know. But no, but I mean, again, even people like me who are working on it, but clearly not triathloning anywhere anytime soon. It's an attractive thing to buy just as a cool watch to wear. So
Tell me why, though. I agree. I like my Apple Watch, and as I said earlier, I'm wearing it every day. But I'm looking at, for instance, the Garmin Vivo Smart HR. They have very accurate heart rate monitors, and they do something I wish the Apple Watch did. My Samsung S3 does it as well. With the Apple Watch, when you're doing exercise, you have to explicitly say, I'm now about to exercise, please monitor it. Most of these other devices notice your heart rate's going up, you're moving, you know, you're exercising, we're going to record this. In fact, many of them can differentiate between the kinds of exercises you're doing, including this Garmin. Why doesn't Apple do that? My Samsung pauses. If I say, I'm going on a hike, I'm walking, or it says, oh, I see you're going on a hike, you want me to record this? Yes. Walking, then I stop, I sit down for lunch. It vibrates my wrist. It says, okay, I can see you've stopped walking. We'll pause. And then it picks it up again.
They do pause. Like there's a setting where you can say auto pause. I've never had a lot of luck with the feature, but it does there. I guess it depends on how maybe I'm walking fast enough or slowing down enough, but the feature is in there.
All right.
And they just added snowboarding and skiing last week.
Good.
I guess I don't tell it anything. I just do whatever I'm going to do, and I look down to see like.
It doesn't record though as in your workouts app. I just wish it would record it. It's included in your activity, I guess, but then activity doesn't say anything about oh, you exercised for an hour today. I don't. I just.
I think it's something. Well, it says. I guess it says active. It's got the three little whatever.
Yeah, it's the rings. You fill the rings.
I think
that's
it's
all I worry about. It's too complicated otherwise.
Yeah.
I think it's just more conservative than other apps are, and I won't try to find the page on my Android phone, but I will never ever know. I don't know what my biking stats are because I was apparently on a train somewhere. And so the longest distance I've ever ridden on my bike will always be 71.2 miles. The highest speed I've ever done is 30 something.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I haven't dived into it, but yeah.
It thought you were on your bicycle going extraordinarily fast.
It has obviously not checked the settings page where I myself typed in my true weight. I don't think that's a smart choice for it to make.
I find that when I fly, I burn a lot of calories.
Yeah,
there's just enough vibration.
All right, it's a minor complaint, but it seems like it's a kind of an Apple-y thing to do. Just say, oh, I notice you're jogging right now. I'd like to, and record it. I don't know.
Data collection is where it's all about. If you have to enter, if we were able to be trained to activate apps to encourage us to exercise, we wouldn't have a need to be encouraged to exercise.
Yes.
So that's really one of those finer points that Apple can really do a much better job on than other people. That makes this so valuable. That just the number of times I see a tweet or an Instagram about another screenshot of someone who had, oh look, I got all 3 rings for an entire month for the 8th time in a row. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to die too sometime. It's not. The magic rings aren't going to give you eternal life.
Just tell Jay Blahnik to cut it out, Andy.
Well, whatever they're doing something right because they are, according to IDC, again, because Apple doesn't break this out, but they're clearly owning the market. A 57.5% growth year over year for the Apple Watch in 2017. They now kind of dominate significantly. With market share of 21% compared to Fitbit's 14% and dropping. Xiaomi is number 3 with 13%. I guess that's an Android Wear watch, I think, that Xiaomi.
Yeah, and Google hasn't really done much with those.
No, Android Wear has just dropped off the map, oddly enough.
Yeah, there's a problem where they're all using the same Qualcomm system on a chip, and Qualcomm has not updated it in 2 years.
Oh, there's the problem.
So so that's not making people excited about creating new watches. To say nothing of the fact that they just the price of being able to create a platform that anybody can buy, anybody can create, anybody can buy into, is that you can't get that kind of incredible integration of specific. You can't shave millimeters, fractions of a millimeters here, there, and there, and get a 42 millimeter tiny little pillow watch like that. You will always wind up with something that's more akin to like the G-Shock than to something else.
This is from Jason Cross at Macworld Report. Apple killing off the iTunes LP format. The company will stop taking new LP submissions after March and phase out sales through 2018. I didn't even know they had an LP format. What is that for all the tracks related
It
album?
was announced the same time as iTunes Extras, and it was like Steve Jobs said, imagine you could sit there with your album art and just page through all the, And
kids didn't want to do that, did they? Oh, I remember that, yeah. And by the way, I'm the market for that. I'm the generation that grew up wearing Koss Pro 440 headphones with Tommy and opening the lyrics and reading the lyrics as I'm lying on my back listening to the record. That's the idea, right? Steve Jobs, of course, was that generation as well. But I guess kids today, they don't want to read liner notes.
I think they want to. I do think that they would like to, based on some of the stuff we've done, some of the videos we've done. I think they love doing things with the artists that talk about the album.
Yes,
like that. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the artists to talk about that or to show the creativity process. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff we were doing with Pomplamoose, but we've been oh yeah. So on their Facebook, on Pomplamoose Facebook page, there's like 2-hour streams from the studio while they're recording.
Oh, cool.
So it's like while they're figuring out how to do the song, and we're we threw up a bunch of little cameras and we're cutting live back and forth so that you can kind of follow the action. But it's literally the creative process. It is them thinking about the song and them talking to the other artists and them coming up with a riff and then trying it and then say, oh, that didn't work, and someone else, Jack will say something or Natalie will be like, I got to do that again, and it's, I think the response has been really good. People are really excited about it because they get to feel like they're there with the band while the band's in that creative process. I think that's the next generation of liner notes. I think that something like that. We did one with Alicia Keys a couple years ago and with John Mayer before that they released the album and then they just talk about it. Like Alicia Keys would talk about her album and talk about what each song meant to her, and she could sit there and answer questions and so on and so forth. I think that being able to have an event that you do that with an artist is something that I think fans would be very excited about. I think opening up text or piece of paper or even a digital version of that is just not what the current generation wants to do. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity to get reconnected with the fans that I don't think Apple Music is doing a very good job of taking advantage of. I think that they're doing big ideas and
isn't
content,
that what Beats Radio
really
though is kind of the idea behind Beats Radio? They always seem to have artists in studio with them. Yeah,
sure, the artists that they choose.
That's right.
The real issue is that what you need to do is be able to build a platform that the artists can do that themselves. That it's self-generating, that they can create that kind of content. And right now, the artists are using YouTube, they're using Facebook, they're using all these other platforms. Patreon are the kind of platforms that they're using because there's no good, easy way to do that on something like Apple Music. And I think that is something that's a growth area that Apple could really dig into if they chose to.
Apple sees $. They've hired M. Night Shyamalan to produce a new 10-episode psychological thriller series for their whatever they're going to call it, Apple Music Specials or whatever.
Apple Music TV.
TV thing that they do if you have an Apple TV or maybe even if you don't, because who knows where it's going to show up.
Is there a twist ending?
It didn't have to be this way. Hollywood really could have.
We were talking
about it. We've been talking about the fact that Apple was eventually, or at least I've been saying that if the Hollywood doesn't sell to, and change their business model or allow Apple to be part of it, that Apple was just going to step into it. And and they did the same thing to Netflix. Like, let's hold out on Netflix. Well, Netflix now is releasing this year. I believe they're releasing 300 original series and movies. It's done. I mean, and what happens is now M. Night Shyamalan can now go. He can now make a deal directly. He doesn't need Fox. He doesn't need Warner Brothers. That model's dead.
Netflix won an Oscar this year with Icarus.
I was about to say, when you have filmmakers like thanking Netflix in an Oscar speech.
Wow.
I when I was listening to that, I'm not even joking. I'm like, wow, what a world this is. That an entity that no one could really have imagined 8 or 9 years ago doing anything more than, isn't it cute? Instead of like actually putting DVDs into little envelopes and mailing them out, now they're actually, okay, that's interesting. And now they're creating not just their own content, but also content that is content that keeps a global superpower out of the Olympics. That's the power of the Netflix.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Well,
that is amazing.
And I think that one of the things I think is fascinating about Netflix is they've just it's this mind-boggling amount of content that they're generating, and they're still, for the most part, knocking it out of the park. I mean, the level of control that they're having. I find myself now going to Netflix, and I'm specifically looking for original Netflix. I'm not looking for the other crap that's on Netflix anymore. Like, and then and I don't think Amazon's done that. I don't think that YouTube or Facebook's done that successfully. Apple hasn't done it yet. So HBO and Showtime, I mean, they do great things, but they do so little of it. You know, it's like these little drops. Netflix is doing, you know, mass production of stuff. You know, right now I'm watching Frontier, which is pretty good. I like good old, you know, swashbuckling kind of movies, and so or series, and you know, it's not the highest quality I've ever seen, but it's really enjoyable to watch. And before that it was Peaky Blinders, and before that it was, you know, and you get
is
into
it just me, or it feels, maybe because I can afford to have a bunch of services, but it feels to me a little bit like the web now, where you deep link. You don't care where it is. You don't say, oh, I'm a Netflix fan. You just get whatever you get from whatever service has it, whether it's Amazon Prime or Netflix or
I think it is. I mean, if you're a cord cutter, you're not really it's not like you have the money to do it. If you're a cord cutter, you're not paying $130 a month. You're paying, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but if you add up
so,
subscriptions, it adds up, you know. Yeah,
but I don't think it adds up to the same amount that we were paying for a whole bunch of channels that we didn't want.
Right.
You know, like, you know, I think that, you know, because HBO alone, the sub on HBO alone is $8, or was $8 when I was in cable. It's like $13 now or something. So the per sub cost is that. Now some of the channels are per subs are $0.25, $0.50.
ESPN's like $13. It's expensive. It's the most expensive.
Yeah. So the thing is that that's what you're paying
the cable
as
company
a user, and you're being
pays them, and of course they pass it along to you, right? Yeah.
So now what you're doing is you're choosing to have the stuff that you want there. And, you know, I think the interesting model for Netflix is they have to support all of these different people that want to have something different, whether it's Chef's Table or Frontier, which is probably the two most opposite things you can have on your network. And the other thing is that they just have what they have that the other guys don't have. I mean, Amazon has it, but they're not utilizing it yet, in my opinion, is Netflix has the numbers. They have the app. So they know how long you watched it, what shows you're watching. They know whether you fast forwarded. They know whether like they have an incredible amount of information. So their ability to smartly create the next shows that are going to be interesting to people is very, very good. And other people can do it. Apple could do that, but Apple really, you know, it's a lot of catch up right now. I think that everybody's catching up at the moment with Netflix. I think Disney's new foray into this area could be really interesting because they've got just so many great. Obviously so many great properties, you know, whether
they're
it's
doing
Pixar,
an interesting
Marvel,
thing. You know, I had a subscription to Disney Movies Anywhere. That's what's called, Disney Movies Anywhere. And they sent me a note saying, okay, you got to move everything out of your Disney Movies Everywhere into something called Movies Everywhere. and I got a goodbye from Disney Movies Everywhere. But it's just all they did is take the name off, as far as I can tell. I mean, you had to do for now. But what that sounds like to me is that they're trying to create something that's not just Disney. They want to have a Netflix or a Amazon Prime Movies or something. I mean, they want to have more than just the Disney properties on there.
Well, they're launching a streaming channel with like a Marvel and a Star Wars show.
I mean, but Disney has enough stuff going on that they could just be just Disney. But I'm just saying that the fact that they took Disney's branding off of Movies Anywhere tells me this is more than that. They have bigger ambitions than just, oh, this is the home for Disney stuff. But I think all that's silly. I mean, Netflix cares that you know you're watching on Netflix to the degree that you keep your subscription. But I don't know if
that matters. I mean,
that's all they care about, right?
It gets into that whole like why we use our Apple Watch. Well, you know, it's like I don't know if I would stick with Netflix if all they made is Chef's Table.
Apple made that. Apple made that TV app and wants to get everybody aggregated into that, and it works, except that Netflix isn't in it.
Yes.
Right.
Because Netflix won't do it.
Well, they shouldn't. I mean,
maybe they should, because you still have to. When all the Apple TV app does is tell me where stuff is, and then when I launch the show, it goes into that app. Netflix would get all the data that they would get otherwise.
It's
about discovery.
Data. I mean,
it reminds me when I was
last
watching.
Well, but it does encourage this this habit, which I think is happening anyway, of you don't care what knowing what platform is on is actually a pain in the butt. I don't want to have to go to Netflix to figure out where my show is. I just want to ask Siri, just play Babylon Berlin, and it'll play wherever it is.
And I think that the thing that's changing now that I've noticed over because the first Netflix stuff was pretty bad. I mean, like before House of Cards, I mean, there was a lot of experiments that you were like, oh, this is never going to work. And the thing that I found now is that I have a limited amount of time, and there's so much content there that I want to watch, that I have this stack of whole series that I can watch. And so like I just work through one whole series, and I just watch one series until I get to the end of it, and then I watch another one. But I don't, and I was talking to my wife about it, because what does she watch? She watches Scandal. She likes to watch Scandal, and I'm like, I can't deal with that, because I have to wait a whole week. Like, like this whole idea that to wait. I can't remember what happened last week. I can't remember all the little details. When I watch like 6 of these episodes in a row, I can really remember, like on a plane, I can really remember, I'm into the zone of it.
Right.
But and one of the things we were talking about is that we really loved Law and Order because I don't have to do that. And so I realized that I will not now watch a TV series that is episodic, that's going to have any kind of arc, if it's coming on every week. If it's on Netflix, or if it's on Hulu, or if it's on something that I can watch the whole series all at one time, I'll watch it at my at the speed that I want to watch it. If it's not, I just want Law and Order. I watch these shows, and I'm like, they didn't have to make this complicated. It could have been just junk, and then they just do their show, and then it ends, and it's a model, and then I can turn it on anytime I want, which is why I watched a lot of Law and Order.
Well, look at the list of stuff. So one of the reasons I bring this up is I'm wondering, and we still are wondering, what the heck Apple's plan is. I mean, how is this? I would imagine it'll be a part of the TV app, I would guess, on Apple TV, but I don't know. But so they've got the Shyamalan stuff, which will be great. They've got Steven Spielberg's amazing stories, not the old ones, but brand new ones. They've got a half-hour comedy series about a morning show with Kristen Wiig, Jennifer Aniston, and Reese Witherspoon. They've got a new series from Kumail Nanjiani and Emily V. Gordon, who did The Big Sick, called Little America. I mean, they're
Battlestar Galactica.
They're doing it right.
The Galactica guy, yeah. I mean,
they're either spending money on Apple is basically spending all money on all tentpoles. I mean, they're not. There's no in between. They're like, we're just going to get the best, and then we're going to get the best, and then we're going to get the best, because they can afford to. I mean, they can spend. Every year they can spend twice as much as Netflix, and they'd still be able to do it. So they can, instead, what they're doing, they're not shotgunning out. They're basically going, we want to make every show something that's a destination for folks, and they've got time to start building that up. I think it's the right way to go. I think they also have to outlive their little app show. Like that. It was just such a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Can I say it was a great idea? It was a great idea, a great concept, very, very poorly implemented, but exceptionally executed. So it's the production value was as good as it gets for something that was probably a good idea when they started it, and then somehow what they put in the middle, and really the choice of talent was really not. Was really what kicked them, I think.
I didn't like it, but I got to say that if violent people have taken your dog hostage and have insisted that you have a magical escalator on your TV show, I don't think a magical escalator could have possibly been done any better than it was done on Planet of the Apes.
What is so I'm looking at Movies Anywhere, formerly Disney Movies Anywhere. And one of the things they do, in fact, I've recommended it before as a pick, is they aggregate your movies that you purchased from Amazon, from Apple, from Google, all into one big pile. And then the weirdest thing, when you play it, they don't say where it came from. It just starts playing, which why would Apple do that?
Oh, because you don't want people to have an allegiance to Netflix or to Hulu or someplace else. You want allegiance only to Apple, only to that app. But
this isn't an Apple app, and I'm not seeing any Apple branding when I play the movie. Or Amazon or Google.
It's It's really.
I'm always surprised when companies do something that's good for consumers and not good for their bottom line, right?
Well, it's really damaging to the brands that are not being identified because it's so hard for them to have you have any kind of allegiance to ABC or to CBS or to Paramount or to Disney, and they desperately want you to know. That's why they put it when you watch the movie, and that's why it says a Disney production brought to you, in conjunction with whatever. They got to know. They got to make sure that you know that this is why you're coming is because we make great movies, and they think that that's important. And just like with music, I think that we just want to watch the content. But
I agree.
If they can,
I agree.
But I think that they are building. Like I think that if they can, like when I don't automatically go to Amazon and think that I'm going to see a good video. I've seen too many bad shows that I'm kind of like, well, if someone told me it was really good, I might go watch it. But it would probably take me months before I got around to it. With Netflix, I'll just sit there and just go, I'll watch an episode of that because it's reasonably I have a reasonably good chance that I'm gonna like it. With Apple, I think that they'd still be on an earning phase. With Facebook and YouTube, I don't even bother.
So I do. Content. So here's we can pre-order.
3 words, Alex. Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
We can pre-order
Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
We can pre-order the last Jedi. But I notice here I am. Now this is Movies Anywhere. As soon as I say pre-order, it's going to then send me to the stores that it supports, the Vudu, the Google Play, the iTunes, the Amazon. So I'm going to choose.
Not in 4K or HDR on iTunes.
Why do people? Here's the question: is why do you pre-order a movie?
So
what
it's at full price.
Matter?
So it's there when I don't know because I'm thinking about it.
Because I forget when they're coming out, Alex, and then I open up the Apple TV and it's sitting there and I just press play.
You will not forget because the best part is that it's going to be on your top movie, the little top movie shelf at the very top. It's going to be there.
I'm a forgetter.
I know. You won't miss it.
But how do you
so wait a minute now, Rene.
You don't go to see top movies?
Yes.
Rene said something interesting. iTunes is not doing the UHD version of Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
Disney will not provide the 4K HDR version of any of their titles to Apple as long as Apple is selling them for the same price as
I take it back then. I take it back. I thought this was a happy world where lambs and lions are lying down together.
No, Disney wants an extra $5 or $10.
Got it. So I can go to Vudu and buy it in UHD. Yes.
Yeah, if you're willing to pay the extra $5. But
absolutely. It costs a little more, right? Yep. Oh, that's interesting. Well, isn't it? I mean, does Apple pay them something differently when that happens?
Apple rumor has it Apple has overpaid for content in the past just to ensure that it would have it, but I don't know what the particulars are of this deal.
So it's $25 for UHD, just $20 for HDX, which is a 1080p on Vudu, and I presume that price is the same everywhere. Interesting. But if I go to iTunes,
I think I'm still in the mode of I would be really excited to watch, to buy the 4K, but I'm not going to pay extra for it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that for the most part, there's not anything that I feel like I had to see in 4K.
Oh, it looks like I can't I have to get, Google also apparently is not doing the deal because they only have the HD version as well. Looks like Vudu's the only one offering a UDX or UHD version. So do you buy discs anymore?
I used to for a while and do the transcoding thing, but I used to do all the stuff that Andy did, but then I got old and lazy.
You would, I mean, really the only reason to buy the UHD Blu-ray is because it's better quality than the streaming version. So if you really cared, like I got Blade Runner 2049, but it's a pain in the butt. Because I got to go find the disc and put it in the player. And
I have been tempted. Because the macro blocking around fast-moving individuals in the foreground makes. I'm starting to notice it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just when someone's walking across a relatively static thing, you'll see this little edge around them of blocks. And sorry, I just ruined a lot of people's viewing experience. But,
I know, because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Well, no, but on the other side, Christina Warren and I were talking, and she said that she can't be bothered to get up and go to the living room to get the Blu-ray, so she'll just buy it again on iTunes.
Oh, God, that's the worst.
And that made the whole world acceptable to me now.
Microsoft's paying her too much money. She got it.
Yeah, that's when you transition from journalism to working for Microsoft.
I think this was pre-Microsoft, but I felt that. It's like the same reason, like you go through all your DVDs, you can't find something to watch, and then you see it on cable and you start watching it, even though it has ads. You didn't have to make a choice, so you enjoy it more.
It's really true. I think physical media is dead. I really do.
I don't disagree with you, but I do think that I do. The thing is, I'm so happy with the way that I acquire my media by buying it. Actually, usually I'll buy it used. But I finally bought. I've not seen Coco yet. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's so good.
I have not seen it yet, but finally seeing it. Reminding myself of it during the Oscars, I ordered a copy, and I have so much love for Pixar that there's so many people because it's selling in like a pack that has like both the Blu-ray and the DVD and the digital code. So a lot of people, all I want is the digital code, and so they're selling off like the DVD and the CD and the Blu-ray. Just as like without a case, and like my love of Pixar is so great that saying I can either spend $22 for the actual shrink wrap thing or $8 for just the Blu-ray. Okay, I'll just buy.
I'm terrible
I'll buy
because I keep forgetting to save those codes from the UHD disc.
I don't use them. It's.
But you could put it in movies. I could put it in movies anyway.
I sure feel for me. I just don't like the idea of not remembering where I might have bought something. Did I buy it from Google Play? Did I buy it from iTunes? And then also, what happens? What happens if I switch platforms? I also like the fact that that because I don't sell off or give away the discs after I rip them. I like the fact that I can just, if I'm hit by a bus tomorrow, my friends can divvy up my movie collection, whereas I don't know why we're all okay. We've been brainwashed into thinking that, oh, well, yes, he spent $800 over the course of his life on movies, but now nobody owns them anymore. Thanks for the money. Goodbye. It's like, no. He bought movies. I should be able to. I'm his heir. I should be able to have them.
That is the sad thing. I think about all my Kindle books, my music, my movies. They just go back into the bit bucket when I die, right? Just like me.
Yep.
But couldn't I give my login to my kids?
Digital inheritance.
No, but at some point they'd be like, "You've had a subscription for 120 years."
But the good news is that you lose the prequels in the estate tax.
So Alex, you're saying here that an iTunes purchase library is like a rent-controlled apartment.
Yes.
Don't tell anybody that Aunt Estelle died. We're gonna be
exactly.
She's gonna live till 130 if we could be on the park for $120 a month.
Exactly. And Apple, and it'd be like, when did Apple make movies, or when did they have a media thing? Because I've driven the car and I've been in the plane, but I didn't know that Apple actually made media devices. That 130 years from now, it'll be like, I don't understand. Like, they're a bank.
Yeah.
Mobile World Congress. Everybody wants to be Apple.
You got a notch. You got a notch. You got a notch.
Oh, I know why she didn't charge it. Yes, look at this. Vlad Savov of The Verge tweeting from the, this is the Asus Zenfone announcement. Our notch is smaller. 26.
Wonder why.
26% smaller than Fruit Phone X.
Nothing in it.
There's just a camera. There's nothing in it. I have in my hands, although it's not charged up, and I think I know why Megan hasn't charged it. This is a Chinese knockoff called the Ukitel, and I'm putting in the Type-C cable, but it just falls right out. But this has a notch too. You can kind of see it. But again, the only thing in the notch is the speaker and one camera. They're not the only ones. Look at all these. There's the Ukitel, the U18. These are Android devices. Oh, the Leagoo. I probably should own a Leagoo S9 Pro.
They can hire Brad Ellis to make super ellipses for them. They don't have to live with these crazy curves.
Why would you duplicate the notch? People don't even Apple people. Here's the Uli phone.
Yeah. See, that's what's kind of hysterically funny too. Look, it replicates one of the silly things about the Asus design too. It's like, okay, so great. So you managed to shove the panel up the top by having that notch, but then you put this thick bezel at the bottom. I don't mind bezels at the top and bottom, but it just looks so off balance to me that I have to ask you what the freaking point was.
Yeah, you got a chin. Why did you?
And why do you have 2 copies of the Google search app? What is that?
That is very well to balance
it's for left
it.
and right-handed.
It's symmetric.
Lefty and righties.
It's symmetric.
It's a magic eye puzzle. You line it up until the 2 G's are together, and you see a sailboat.
The Verge headline is "The Clone Wars: iPhone 10 copycats battle for notch supremacy."
Yeah.
Well, you know,
to break free.
it's an homage to the iPhone.
Well, but it was one interesting. I think it was one of the vendors. They were asking like why they're doing it, and they said, "Well, all our phones look the same. We want to look distinct. We want people to recognize."
Yeah, just like Apple.
You don't do that. Put a triangle on it, buddy.
Yeah, look just like Apple. Let's see. There are people shooting at the Apple shuttle. So the CHP is baiting the Apple shuttle shooter with a decoy bus. Oh, I shouldn't. Shh. I didn't say a word.
So is it a
made out of
person is
wood?
shooting at the bus, or there's many people shooting at the bus?
There are a lot.
That's
I shouldn't
the thing,
laugh at this. It's Highway 280. There have been at least 5 cases of 4 with Apple buses and 1 with Google buses of people shooting with a pellet gun while they're driving down the interstate. So both Apple and Google's new shuttles are now going down Highway 101 instead of Highway 280, which is the alternate route down the.
And it is scary. I mean, the people on it were terrified. So it's not,
terrible!
yeah.
Terrible. The glass was breaking. They've damaged windows, according to the California Highway Patrol. They've dented the exterior of vehicles. So they're sending a decoy shuttle bus down, hoping somebody will shoot at it, I guess.
What I'm kind
And
of
they
surprised.
didn't know it was
what I'm
pellets
kinda
at first. They thought it was bullets.
Right. Still dangerous.
And it is, and people have been shooting at vehicles for a long. My wife actually, someone shot the back window of her car, with what probably was a pellet gun, but it broke the window and it made a lot of noise.
It's
and
terrible.
It's definitely a scary thing to do. With the buses, I'm kind of surprised they don't just put 4K wide-angle lenses, 90-degree lenses going all the way around it, so that if it happens, you at least can start, figuring out what happened.
Well, I don't
know where it came from.
I got that owl cam that this is from a former iPod designer who then went to, where else did he go? He was at a number of big startups. This is in my my Tesla now, and it's shooting both forward and backward. It's pretty awesome.
I saw an interview with the founder, I think, over this weekend on like Click Here or whatever, and I guess when they tested it, they were putting it in a car and they'd leave a laptop in the back, and they said the biggest problem in some areas of town, it was how fast could they get away from the car before someone tried to break into it. It was amazing how quickly it happened.
Oh God! Well, you'll get video of it. In
fact,
you can speak to people in the car. It's got a speaker and a microphone. It's got 2 very bright LEDs on the face of it that come on if somebody breaks in at night. It's actually really cool. I could show you.
Are you streaming, Leo? Are you streaming from the car?
I am. Well, the other thing is it connects to the OBD2 port instead of the cigarette lighter port. So as a result, it's always on. So like I can look at my car right now if I want. Has LTE built in. Let's see, which is live. This is live. Let's see what's happening in the Twit parking lot right now. Nothing.
Someone get out there. That was your cue.
But I could talk to them, and then on the other way, it's facing there's nobody in my car right now, thank God. But that's kind of cool.
You should also just put a Ring doorbell like on the driver's side.
Well, this
door
is basically without a doorbell, because I can say, "Hey, get away from the car! Hey, knock it off, you kids!" There's nobody inside to hear it, unfortunately. But I think that's pretty neat. Anyway, $350 is a little expensive. It's $300 without the LTE service, but you get a year of LTE service for $350. The Owl Cam, OWLCAM. Not my pick of the week, but since we're talking about break-ins and so forth. Apple is donating $250,000 to sponsor innovation zones in an accessibility-focused playground in their neighborhood in Sunnyvale. I think that's nice of them. I want to give them a little credit for that. They've got Kindness Corner, the Playhouse and Play Stage, the Tot Zone, but Apple is sponsoring the Innovation Zone. Nice.
What a wonderful place to chuck dodgeballs at your friends' heads. A place of peace and
they're
love.
not paying attention.
There will be a new watch activity challenge this coming week to celebrate International Women's Day. Your challenge? I don't know. Let's see. You got to double your daily calorie goal. I can do that. I can eat more burn more calories. No, never.
You got to move.
Never mind. Never mind. And you get a special. Rene, you probably collect these achievement, these themed.
I try. I don't always make it, but I try.
Yeah. On March 8th. What is that? That's day after tomorrow.
Yep.
So double your daily calorie goal. Do
not set it to 10. Do not do that. Wink, wink.
So if your goal is 350 calories to burn in a day, you need to burn 700. Yes. So what is that? Day after tomorrow. This is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll be eating barbecue in Austin. I should be able to double my calorie consumption. That
just by going from barbecue stand to barbecue stand.
We're going down to Austin. Actually, we're having a meetup at Friedman's Barbecue Thursday night, March 8th, to celebrate Women's Day. If it's come on down and have some barbecue with us from 5:30 to 7:30. No host barbecue, and then the next morning. With the reason we went down there, I'm going to be hosting a panel with Stacey Higginbotham from This Week in Google and some security gurus talking about real-world security for consumers at the Antone's, which is the Capital One House in Austin. Starts at 8:30 a.m., but we will have breakfast tacos, which is apparently something they eat in Austin. So that's coming up. That's Thursday and Friday of this week. But I'll find time. If I have to, I want to get that pink badge.
Do it.
That's cool. Why are there different ones?
I mean, they've got a good system now where they can just push out assets and then trigger it, and then whatever they want to make it for Valentine's Day or New Year's or Women's Day it's just nice because it motivates people. Like you fell off, you didn't do your goal, you didn't see a reason to continue, and now this gives you a little motivation to go back out there and continue your streaks.
You will also see, according to the inclusion rider, a curated collection. Oops, not there yet. It's coming to the Apple Store soon. A curated collection of celebrating bold women playlists and albums in Apple Music. Celebrating bold women for International Women's Day. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, I would like for you all to come up with a pick of the week. But I'm going to start with talking about the Lighthouse. This is a camera that I have in my house. We have it in the studio. We've disconnected it so you can see it. That is so cool. This is not just like a camera in your house like the other guys. This is a 3D AI-powered camera that gets your busy life. If you are not home, Lighthouse is. It's got 3D sensing built into it. So it sees your home in full 3D. It knows what people look like. It knows what pets look like. It uses face recognition. So I get notifications if somebody's in the house, somebody we don't know is in the house, and I can see. Let me show you the app. It's so cool. Lighthouse knows the difference between people and pets. So you can ask it questions like, show me when you see some pets, or ping me when you see some pets. So here's the view. This is my office right now at home. But I can also see, somebody was in there at 9:11 a.m. And look, you see the outline of the person in there. It's probably Lisa. Or maybe it's no. Yep, there's Sarah in there. She's picking something up for me. So but then you can do more, which is really cool. These are the people it knows. You can invite other people, and then you can ask it questions. Like, show me a summary of Friday, or if you don't see the kids by 4 o'clock on weekdays, let me know. There's this really cool feature where your kids, when they get home, can wave at the camera. The camera will send you a notification on your phone, and you can talk to them because, yes, it has a microphone and speakers built into it. This is the Lighthouse. This is the smartest thing I've ever seen. Live streaming, 1080p HD. It's got night vision, two-way talk. There is a security siren in it, which you can trigger easily. It attaches to your Wi-Fi and then communicates with you no matter where you are. I have one thing that this was a must for me. And it wasn't my idea, it was Lisa's idea. She says, you can have this camera in the house, but it has to turn off when you're home. Lighthouse does. I have it set up so that when Lisa and I come home, no camera. So our privacy is protected, but we still can monitor what's going on in the house. Bank-level encryption for your video data, of course. You can search your 30-day video history at any time using real artificial intelligence questions like, what happened while I was gone? See, it knows when I came and went, so I could say, what happens when I was gone? Or, what did the kids do while I was out? Or, did you see the cats today? We actually use this all the time because we have a cat who's stopped coming home, and Lisa was worried, and we found out he would wait till we left, and then he would come home and he'd eat, and then stay there all day, and he knew, I guess, when we were coming back because he'd leave. We didn't see Hamilton for the longest time. Thank you, Lighthouse. We now know he's okay. He's just a son of a gun. When it comes to security, Lighthouse is amazing. It'll notify you only when it detects actual movement for people or large objects like doors opening when you're away from home. I had another cam, I wouldn't say the brand, that was supposed to be smart. It thought Mylar balloons were humans. And I kept getting pings because we had a birthday party. It was no more false alerts, no more shadows, no more Mylar balloons. Lighthouse is at light.house. Light.house. You can learn more. If you want, use the promo code TWIT. You'll get 15% off a Lighthouse camera. And by the way, we've been talking about this since it first came out, and I got one right away. But they're now in mass production. But you're still an early customer, so you will get 90 days of service at no cost. The AI service, no cost to you for 90 days. Light.house, 15% off with the promo code TWIT, okay? So that they know you saw it here. Light.house. I love this thing. And we've got 2 now. And I'm probably going to get some more. But it's so cool. I've got mine, actually, I think somebody knocked it, because I have mine where it's sitting. It watches not only my office, but the front door is right over there. So any movement, and it's just so amazing. Highly recommend it. Light.house. I've tried the others. This is the best. Time for our picks, and we thank them for supporting MacBreak Weekly. Time for our picks of the week. Let's kick things off with the expensive guy, because I want to know if I have enough money for the rest of you afterwards.
Nope.
Alex Lindsay.
I had two apps that I can't decide which one, so I'm just going to
do both.
I went through a lot of drawing apps. I'm just trying to find ways to sketch out ideas. So some of them are sketching out big ideas of this is what I want to do, and other ones are I do a lot of slide decks. So when you're proposing to do some event or to do something for someone, you make a keynote. But before I sit down on keynote, I tend to be on a plane somewhere, and I open up my iPad, and I just want to think about every slide. So I use 2 different things for those. So for the slide decks, I use CardFlow, and I actually use CardFlow Plus. It's some upgrade. You can get it for free, and then you can upgrade it to something else. And it's just great because I can really think about my slides. I can sit there and sketch ideas really fast with my pencil, and then I can rearrange them all. So I can, I want to add another one here. I want to put another one in there. So it's a really fast way to kind of sketch out ideas. And there's also some stuff I just started experimenting with, and I don't know how to use it yet, is you can actually create interactivity. So you can design an interface and make clickable things where you can jump from one card to another. So if you're trying to think about how an app would work or other things like that, it's just got a lot of great little tools in it. So I like that one a lot. And then the other one that I use for larger kind of conceptual ideas or workflows is one called Concepts. It's a kind of a larger, it doesn't have the card concept, but it just has like a big piece of paper that you can kind of jump to. And what I like about it is the ink feels really good when you're drawing on it, and the tools are really easy to work with. And so anyway, those are the 2 that I've really kind of I think I've got, I don't know, 15 or 20 on my iPad. I really tried to work through them, and those are the 2 that I've really kind of settled on. I'm not saying that they're necessarily what I would do paintings in. They show those kind of things. I think that Procreate and Sketchbook are probably better ones for that. But for jotting down ideas or sketches or that type of thing, I find both of these to be great solutions.
Very nice. That didn't cost me much.
No. I think even if you upgrade them, they're $25 for the 2 of them is the whole cost.
Nice deal. Very good. Andy Anatko, pick of the week.
Mine's not a pick; it's a tip. It's for people who have suddenly decided that, gee, why is TouchID not working anymore, or it's not working quite so reliably anymore? And this one of those things you can try is try to delete that registered fingertip and re-enroll it and retrain it. TouchID is supposed to some extent deal with changes to your fingerprint over time. Not that you're dipping them in acid and trying to delete them, but sometimes, now that you've had TouchID since your iPhone 5 a few years ago, now maybe you have a little scar there. Maybe now you've sort of abraded part of the fingertip. You don't know what's of the fingerprint. Oftentimes what will, and even like in wintertime, if you re-enroll as a dry finger, as opposed to a spring or summer like sweaty finger, that also can improve accuracy for the time. So if you're finding that you're getting frustrating, just try re-enrolling that finger and see what happens. Oftentimes you'll find out that actually this will solve your problem.
Very nice. Re-enroll. Your tip of the week. Rene Ritchie. Pick of the week or tip.
So my pick of the week is something I ordered. I don't have it yet. I saw it in Marquez Brownlee's video, and I thought it was very clever. So I set out to order it to try it out. And it's for people who use the iMac or use the iMac Pro. It comes in both silver and in space black. And what it lets you do is it connects to the bottom of your iMac, and you plug it in. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Is it Satechi, I think?
Oh, Satechi, yeah. They make some great stuff.
Yeah.
Now, the only worry about this, I saw this, was covers the fan. Doesn't it?
I didn't know. I didn't realize.
Isn't there an airport down below there? Yeah.
On the iMac Pro, there's big fans at the back. And
so just be aware of it. Yeah. That was the only thing, because I love this idea. What a slick way of adding ports.
But maybe you could put it in the middle. Maybe it covers a speaker too. So you should be careful about where you place it. But maybe you could place it in the middle.
So you could put it on any edge of the thing.
Yeah, it just clamps. As far as I know, it just clamps on, and you sort of you turn that wheel to make sure that it's nicely attached. And then you don't have to struggle with going behind the iMac. You don't have to accidentally put the SD card in the big back vent and then wonder why it's not working. You don't have to struggle for the USB-C versus the USB port. If you're using those ports frequently, it just makes them much easier to access.
Satechi makes a lot of USB stuff. They may not be a name known to you, but they are good, and I will vouch for them. I have some Satechi lamps that are the best lamp. I'm going to buy this now that I know. Did you get steel gray?
I got space black.
Space gray. Space gray.
Yeah. Space gray. No, totally. And it doesn't apply to me, but to any of you people who are blessed enough to live in the Bay Area near a Phil's coffee shop, there is now a Phil's coffee app. So you can just go out and order your Phil's beverage and have the hipster barista who would otherwise look at you with a little bit of ennui be happy that your beverage is made perfectly to your taste, just sweet and creamy the way you like it, ready and waiting for you.
You must really like them. Here you are in Montreal recommending coffee company in San Francisco.
It's pure jelly. I like all your coffee. I love Blue Bottles.
Oh, I know. We're so lucky.
I know. I don't live near, like, the closest good coffee shop is about 20-minute drive for me.
I know.
So
hey, I want to thank John Gruber for something. I had forgotten. AppleScript has kind of late been, yes, it's still there, but people have forgotten about it, right? And I used to use a great AppleScript editor. I've owned every version through, I think, 4. I didn't realize this was still, that Late Night Software was still making Script Debugger. Script Debugger 7 just came out. What? And actually, AppleScript is getting better and better. But the key is having a great IDE, an integrated development environment. So don't be fooled by the name. Yes, you can. It is great for debugging AppleScript, but it's also great for editing AppleScript. And I used it because it would also reveal all the AppleScript commands in any given program. Now, Apple's editor will do that, but this does it on steroids. It is just awesome. It makes it easy to deploy your AppleScripts, to develop your AppleScripts, and to debug your AppleScripts. Don't be fooled by the name Script Debugger 7 from Late Night Software. I completely forgot about this, and thank you, Gruber, for mentioning it. Now I'm going to run out and buy it. It's $99, but if you've owned AppleScript Debugger 6, there's a half-off upgrade. Unfortunately, the last version I bought was 4, so I'll be spending the $99 to get all of it. It is just...
Oh, does it when you buy it? When you download it, does it arrive as a Stuff It archive?
It certainly used to. That's a good question. Probably not. But boy, it makes me want to get back into Apple scripting. Apple scripting is easily the most amazing. Let me turn off the audio on this. I'm showing the video on the site. Is easily the most powerful scripting language on any computer operating system. It's really incredible. But I think people don't use it because it's a little difficult to get into. It seems like it's a little bit old school. Trust me, this stuff is amazing. And you know, even though Sal Seguin's no longer at Apple, apparently they still keep AppleScript alive. Do you know, Rene? I bet you would know. A modern application still putting in Apple scripting capability, or is that gone by the wayside?
I don't know how many new desktop apps we're getting that are Apple specific anyway. Most of the innovations in mobile. Yeah. But the Apple ones, like iWork famously added it back in after they did the port over of the iOS engine and lost it for a while.
Right. I'll tell you what. I'll get this and I'll play with it. There's something very powerful about AppleScript. It's very easy to use.
It's amazing.
If you have the right tool, it's amazing. So this is definitely the right tool. I used Apple's editor for a long time, and then I found Script Debugger and went, whoa, this is it. All right, kids, we're out of time. What a fun show. Thank you all for being here. You'll find Alex Lindsay at Pixel Core. By the way, thank you. I got the camera. My son is going to be over the moon. How'd that sale go? Everything must go, right?
Everything did not go yet. We did sell, I don't know, $10,000 or $15,000 worth of hardware, but we're gonna. We've still got a bunch of cameras and a bunch of other stuff. We're gonna put it up. We're gonna first put it on the Pixel Core site. There were 2 weeks ago or whatever, there were like 600 people who said they wanted to buy something. So, if you're one of those people, we're gonna be sending you an email soon. Right now we're taking pictures of them, putting them up on the web, and we wanted to get through that first. Like everyone come in and look at it first, to get rid of that. And now we're going to go ahead and take pictures of the stuff that survived and throw it up there. So stay tuned for that. Also, we launched our Patreon membership today. So if you go to patreon.com/pixelcore, there's a couple different levels, everything from $1 to $20 a month or whatever, of different things that we're going to provide for people to start teaching people how to make stuff with video. So if you're interested in that, check it out.
That is fantastic. Everybody absolutely should do this. Patreon.com/pixelcore.
It's for us. It's kind of coming full circle. You know, we got into live streaming and production to do training, and now we get to go back to it. So depending on how excited people get, we'll kind of drive how much we can do on that area. But it's something that we'll do. We kind of carefully looked at what we can actually do between all the other productions. Right. But it should be pretty. Everyone's really excited about doing it. So we're hoping people jump on.
And this is a good deal for $5 a month. You get a ton of stuff. That's awesome. And for $20 a month, wow. Holy cow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
We definitely wanted it to be something that was, we thought about it for months, and there was a lot of back and forth about what can we do and what can't we do. And things like the Pomplamoose stuff that we're doing about once a month, that'll be the kind of thing. We've already talked to them about that. And
considering that
their stream.
Considering that Jack Connie created Patreon to support Pomplamoose, there's a certain synergy there. Good. I'm glad. That's great.
The funny thing is that while you're watching, kind of what we're building next is, and the next one I think is next week. While you're watching their live stream, you can actually tune into our live stream of their live stream. So it's a fourth wall inside of a fourth wall.
That's confusing.
16 walls.
Patreon.com/pixelcore. Follow Alex on Twitter, by the way. It's AlexLindsay, and that's how you learn about this kind of stuff. From the man himself. By the way, we got a charging cable. This must be proprietary for the Oukitel, just so you can see the notch.
USB-C plus.
Just so you can see the notch. Look at that. But it's cheap. On the other hand, it's the best phone with a notch for less than $400.
The cheapest notch you're going to get.
It's the least expensive.
Give me about 4 centimeters of gaffer tape. I bet I can give you a cheaper notch than that.
Notch for less.
That's Andy Ihnatko. You'll find him at the Chicago Sun-Times and, of course, on his website, cwob.com. He's on the Twitter at IHNATKO. The Material Podcast on Relay.fm is a great listen if you happen to be an Oukitel owner or any Android device. I'm sure you'll be covering the fine Oukitel at some later date.
Well, if we are lucky enough to actually source one, they're very source constrained. Flow Ion is actually lined up at the Oukitel store in San Jose.
Yeah, isn't that ironic? I can't get an iPhone, but boy, I sure have an Oukitel. No problem getting the review units on the Oukitel. Join Florence Ion, Andy Anako, and Russell Jovanovic. Thank you. I hope I get invited to their next event. It's gonna be at Oukitel Park. It's gonna be mind-boggling.
Well, the last time you tried to live stream it with your Ouki laptop, and
oh yeah, I'll never forget that.
Some bridges you just can't rebuild, Leo.
And that would be over there. One more thing, Mr. One More Thing, Rene Ritchie from imore.com. Great to have you, and of course the Vector podcast now. A daily listen, a must listen. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We do MacBreak Weekly right after iOS Today. That's usually around 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Daylight saving time begins on Sunday, so that means our UTC time is changing. It'll now be 1800 UTC. People, I know UTC doesn't change, but we do. We follow the whims of daylight saving time, and we will be springing forward into the world. Wouldn't that mean we'd be at 1900? I can't do the math. I think it's +7 now, right? All right. Anyway, just figure it out and watch live at twit.tv/live. If you do that, join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. You can also be in the studio. A couple of great studio visitors, Sticker Seth from Reading, and Matt visiting all the way from Tring. Is that right? It's about 40 minutes north of London. Tring. Thank you for coming here. If you want to be in the studio audience, all you have to do is email tickets at twit.tv. Of course, you can always participate at your leisure, at your convenience, by downloading a show. On-demand versions of all our shows, including MacBreak Weekly, are available at our website. In the case of MacBreak Weekly, twit.tv/MBW, or search for MacBreak Weekly in your favorite podcast program and subscribe. That way you'll get it every single time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Now it's time to get back to work because break time is over. See you, everybody.